hopefully this is working. Thank you for watching my video. This is actually the second time I'm having to record this because I had an audio issue with the last video, so it's quite frustrating. So we're going to try this again. Obviously, you saw that my topic for this video is about praying for your husband. This video is going to be really quick. It's not going to be long. Just a simple video just to express what I do and why I do it. For starters, I've been trying to get better about praying. I got really into it, and then I kind of fell off. And I noticed when I fall off of praying, like things seem to kind of go downhill. I don't know, like more so, I get more emotional about things. I feel like things start to fall apart. There's no more positivity in myself, positivity in my house, and I feel like my girls feed off of my energy. So if I'm not having positive energy, they definitely notice, and they're going to feed off of it. And as a whole, it just kind of wears us all down. And even then, with my husband not being here, I feel like me not doing my part in praying even can affect him from afar, because if I'm not doing my part to keep things positive, I feel like it even affects him. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but for me, I feel like, if I'm not praying on my husband, on our family, I'm not doing my part, then, he starts to feel the effects of it. Because if he's starting to feel negative and I'm not combating that with my positivity to try to uplift him, then, it's no good for anybody. But anywho, I got really into praying. In general, I've been going to church and everything, and of course I'm not going to pretend like I'm this great Christian person that goes to church every single Sunday and I do this and I do that. I slack. I have my times where I fall off, and I'm willing to admit that. And recently I recorded the movie The War Room, because everyone's like, oh, you got to see The War Room, you got to watch it. And I was like, all right, I'll get around to it. And I finally saw that it was going to be on, I believe, HBO. So I recorded it on the DVR. And it sat there for maybe like a week or two until I was finally like, oh, I guess tonight I can sit down and watch this movie. Let me finally do this. And it was the greatest choice I ever made. Like, I love that movie, and I still have it saved because I want to watch it again. And I think I might as well just buy it. It's a really good movie. I feel like everyone should check out. It really touched my heart, and it really pushed me in the right direction. Even though I still kind of have my moments where I'm like, meh, I'm slacking. But it definitely nudged me in the right direction. If you've seen the movie, you know about having like a prayer room or prayer closet. I do not have either one, and I was totally jealous to see that in the movie because it looked amazing. I don't have space in the house to dedicate to that. I can't take away my girls' playroom. They would probably cry. So I made myself a little prayer corner. But it works, and I'll get my prayer room in our next house. But for now, this works. And I still have to work on putting more stuff up on the wall, as you can see behind me. Things that I find inspirational, like scriptures. Also have the list of the 10 things to pray over my husband. I have a list of things to pray over my kids, things to remind myself about. And it's just nice to like wake up in the morning, roll out of bed, and see that. And I try to start my day off with positivity. So I feel like seeing that, I'm like, okay, I'm good. All right, it's better to start my day off with that than starting my day off looking at negative stuff on Facebook, which we all know we're guilty of. Sometimes the first thing in the morning, the first thing we do when we wake up is like, boop, Facebook, like, oh, what's going on my timeline there? Like, it's really bad. So I'm trying to force myself to start out that way, rather than with all the negativity, because I feel like it sets the Okay, so I feel like it sets the tone for my day when I started out with something positive. I feel like it helps combat anything negative that might come my way, and it won't let it affect me as much as it would if I didn't start my day that way. And also, after watching the movie, I looked into a few books to get into to help me with my prayer. And I started reading one that was actually inspired by The War Room, and it's actually by the actress that was in the movie, Priscilla Shirer. It's called Fervent. Hopefully you can see that. But yeah, I totally recommend that book. I need to get back on my grind of reading it, because once I started reading it, it was really good for me. I was feeling more positive. Um, and then I slacked. So I'm definitely getting back on that. I'm going to push myself, especially starting tomorrow. I will be pushing myself to get back into really reading and journaling while I'm reading that. It helps you to write out your prayers and how to go about praying and what to pray for and just the whole format and strategy of it all. It's so helpful. And at first I thought, I was like, oh, is this really going to be helpful? And then I'm like, I went about it and I was like, you know what? This is really good. It's really good for me. I wish I would have had the paperback version, but I went ahead and just bought it on my Nook. So it works for me on that. And I just got myself a journal, and I journal in it, and I can rip my pages out if I want to and slap it on my walls to reminders, for reminders of like prayers, or sometimes I just keep it in my journal because I want it more private. Because obviously with this being on my bedroom wall, anyone can just be able to read it, and certain things I don't mind being able to be read, but certain things I feel like it's just for me and God. So I keep it there. Yeah, and so I went on to, Pinterest. If you're not following me, follow me on Pinterest. I have tons of stuff tagged, not tagged, but saved as far as prayer goes, or just even setting up your own prayer room and all that type of stuff. I have a lot of cool stuff saved. So if you want that information, feel free to follow me on there. And I found a list of ways to pray for your husband, and I was like, oh, okay, let me check this out. And it's really good. And I'm gonna give you a few that I have done, and ones that I feel are meant the most to me and why I did it. The first one it lists for 10 ways to pray for your husband is pray for your husband's relationship with God. And I feel like that's so important. Of course, you and your spouse may be on two different pages when it comes to religion. For instance, if you're watching this and you pray and you go to church on a regular basis and you make a habit out of it, and your spouse is kind of like here and there with it, or not even at all, we really want them to have that relationship. It's nothing more beautiful than seeing your spouse, love God as much as you do. So I definitely pray over my husband to get that connection he needs and that he does desire, but doesn't know how to go about pursuing it. So I do pray that he finds his way. And I can't push him to do it. I can't push him to want it. He has to want it himself. So I pray over him, and I feel like that's the only way to go about it. You can't fight someone over where they're at. Because I was, at one point, I wasn't into, I believed in God, but I wasn't at the point where I was just like, I prayed on a regular basis. I wasn't there. I fought against it. And I feel like when you push someone into it, it just spells for disaster. They have to want it. They have to hit that wall and finally want to seek him themselves. So I feel like just praying over him in general is going to help. And I think God receives it and, pursues my husband. And I feel like eventually my husband's going to start seeing things for himself and realizing how much good God is doing. I know he already sees that in general, but, we can always improve ourselves. And to support that, scripture, 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 18, and Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, to go with that one. The next one is pray that God would bless your husband. And that one's super important. I always feel bad for my husband when he's having his down days. And he does so much work. He works so hard. He's always exhausted. And, I hate that he feels underappreciated when it comes to work. I feel like his work goes unnoticed. And I always pray that, someone will see his good work and see how hard he's working, see how much he's showing passion for what he's doing and pushing himself. And, and for him not to give up on doing that, to keep putting the same work effort he's been given in and not, starting to slack because he feels like no one cares. And this prayer definitely has worked. He definitely everyone has their moments when they're just like, oh, like I can't, like, no one seems to care. What's the point of me doing all this work if no one's going to recognize me for it? What's the point if someone else gets the credit for what I'm doing? And it's definitely worked. And people are definitely starting to recognize his hard work, and they're actually kind of upset that he's leaving because we're going to shore duty. So I'm just like, and I just realized I say a lot, so excuse my but yeah, I feel like they finally started to really recognize his hard work, and that prayer does work wonders. So definitely pray that over your husband. So pray that God would bless your husband. Scriptures to support that is Proverbs chapter 15, verse 33, and Ephesians chapter 6, verse 6. And the last one I'm going to give, which is actually my favorite right now, is pray for your husband to be a spiritual leader for your family. So, oh my God, like, I'm now going to keep counting how many times I say I feel like this is really important when we think about how a family is supposed to be in a sense of the Bible. You know, the man is supposed to be the leader of the household. He's supposed to be the spiritual leader. And sometimes that's not the case because they haven't reached that point in with their relationship with God to be that leader, to know that they need to be the leader and how to go about it. So I feel like, you know, we as the spouses, we step into that place. At least for me, I feel like it was my responsibility to step into place as the leader for our household spiritually, so that I can continue to guide our girls in the right direction like we both mutually want. And I can also help push my husband in the right direction, so eventually he can get to where he needs to be to take over, and I follow suit. So it's super important, and I don't feel like it's a bad thing for you to choose to be the spiritual leader of your household. As long, I feel like if he doesn't know that he needs to be that, if he doesn't know how to go about doing that, pray over him, take over, show him what it is to be the spiritual leader, show him, you know, your love for God. I feel like him watching you is going to show, you know, like, okay, wow, like, look at her, look at all she's doing, look at the blessings we're receiving because she's doing this, look at the blessings our family is receiving, or even outsiders we're praying over. Like, it's hard to explain. I just feel like sometimes we have to step into that place and pray over everything and take that responsibility until they're ready to do that. And I'm okay with that. I don't want him to feel forced into something. And that's something, like I said before, don't force that person to feel like they have to, oh, you need to do this, you need to go to church with me, why? And it's easy to get angry over it because it's like you want this so bad for your spouse. It's like, why doesn't he want to go to church? Well, why does he want to do this? Our church is so much fun. Like, why? But in the end, if you push the person, they're going to resist even more, and it's not going to get you anywhere. So I have a ton more, of course, on this list. I told you it's 10 ways to pray for your husband. And I'm going to also do a blog on it and write up the whole thing so you can actually print it out yourself, or just copy and paste or read it, whatever you want to do, and have access to that. So you can also start to do that if you choose to. And you can also go on my Pinterest page, as I said before. That list, the original list, is there from the person who actually made it, if you want to go that route and not wait for me to publish this. But I think it's something great to have. And if you don't have a prayer room or a prayer closet, get one. If you don't have the space to do that, get your little corner, make it your own, tell everyone to stay out of it, and that you have, you know, set up your own area. And I have a ton more stuff I need to write up or print out onto my wall. I've been slacking, like I said. I'm going to keep it on 100. I've been slacking. But I enjoy it, and every time I do it, I feel so much better. So definitely do that. Don't feel strange about praying. I feel like at first I was like, am I praying right? Like, how do you know if you're praying right? Like, and I learned a lot about it. I've become more of a passionate. I have more passion in my prayer. I can say that. So definitely also check out that book that I mentioned. And I also do, I think many of you know that I do the coloring, and with the adult coloring books. And I recently got the Whatever is Lovely, a coloring book for reflection and worship. And I got it at Sam's Club, and it was super cheap, only $9. And it's really cool. And tons of scriptures in here. And there are actually some of them up here. The pictures up here are from this book. And it adds some, something to look at for positivity, something to sit down when you're feeling stressed. Break out some crayons, some markers, color pencils, something, grab a book, and just color. And especially when it has scripture based, I feel like it adds even more positivity to my day. But anyway, I'm going to cut this off. It's just something I wanted to mention. It's just, pray for your husband. Like, even if you're not truly even at a point, you're not sure how you feel or what your relationship is with God, it's okay. You got to start somewhere. And I just feel like, you know, we never think about praying individually. We just think like, oh, you know, yeah, I pray for my family. But do you like stop and actually pray for your husband's well-being? Pray for his strength and just pray for him to be able to carry on. And especially with any job. But when I think about like my husband or any of my friends who have husbands in the military, it's like they face so much stress and being away from family for so long, and they need it. They need that extra boost, and I feel like it definitely shows in him when I talk to him. I could tell when I haven't been doing my part to help uplift him, and then I could tell when I have, and you know, he's just more upbeat, and he'll text me the next day or email me the next day, and he's so different. I'm like, all right, it's working. Like he's sounding better. He's not sounding so worn down. Even if I have to send him a scripture to uplift him, I do whatever it takes. So just take the time to do that, and I just thank you for tuning into my little video if you decided to watch. And I'm going to try to make it a habit to do more videos about different subjects. I'm surprised my kids have not come in here to bombard me with stuff. I already had to stop the video partially because one of them was using the bathroom and needed my help. And I also plan to try to also do live videos. Those are just a bit more complicated. I like to plan stuff out on like what I'm going to talk about. But I'm going to definitely force myself to do it because it's not just about blogging just to blog. It truly helps me. It helps me get out my frustrations. It helps me get out the things that I just really feel like I need to get off my chest. And in the end, someone watches it and it helps them because they relate to it or they felt alone on the subject, then that's great. So for me, it's just more so of like my way of venting and keeping myself busy, especially when he's gone. So again, thank you for tuning in. Most of you are probably going to see this video because I've shared it onto my personal page. To be able to see it without me doing that, you also need to be able to follow my actual Facebook blog page. So there will be a link to that. There'll be a link to my website, and I'll also share the link to my Pinterest if you would like to follow that to also get access to my actual prayer board. So thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.